brain, because when your actor brain gets turned on, and then you can execute the actor brain.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. And he could do that.
Right.
You know, he could really go deeper with freedom.
Mm-hmm.
There was, even though it cost and it was hard and he suffered, there was a freedom to his execution.
Right.
That was deep, and the connections were powerful and rich, and he understood the different levels of creating something.
Right.
It was whole and full and human.
Yeah.
Deeply human. You know.
He's one of those people that had their own time zone. Like there was just,
yeah,
you know, there was an authenticity to it that could never be altered.
He could touch truth in a way, so that then that would do a lot of the work for him.
Nice.
He knew how to really go right to that point and touch the truth, which then is just relief. Then you're just, an audience is relieved, you know. And there's something about tickling the truth. Like when you can tickle the truth of something, then it's just,
that's what you're doing.
It's exciting. Yeah.
That's
it's life affirming. You know, it makes you,
yes.
You know, it wakes you up. Someone who's somnambulent like me, like is all of a sudden I'm woken up by that.
Right. So when you like summon his spirit in your work, what is it really usually? What do you do? How does that work? Like when you're like kind of think like, do you ever think like how would Phil do this, or how would he react, or he, you know, or you just tap into the feeling you had when you kind of were with him?
Yes, I think all of those things.
Yeah.
And also how much he loved the theater. You know, he loved the theater as much as I did. He loved it. He loved it.
The other thing I was thinking about, like in thinking about people I've known who have passed away, and like just this whole idea, and that we're 56. Yep. I mean, where do you stand on the whole mortality thing? How are you holding up with that? Do you think about it?
Of course I do. And I have a 6-year-old.
Right.
So I had a child right before I turned 50. So I think about it in terms of that. And I know my, you know, hopefully I will live a good long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
here he comes.
Here he is.
Yes.
Where's the closet downstairs?
Where's the closet downstairs? The closet downstairs. You go down the stairs. You go towards the window, and it's underneath the staircase.
Hi.
This is my friend Marc. I'm having a conversation with him.
Hi.
It's a closet you can go into. Go for it.
Yeah. And that's your day.
So So I think about mortality a lot.
Right.
Because of that precious, wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And I know that having a child later in life, part of that, my responsibility is to teach him how to function.
Well, you're doing
more than likely I'm trying to. You know, more than likely I won't be around for, you know, the latter part of his life. I'm going to try and stick around as long as I can, but you know.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about, like, I show a lot of gratitude lately publicly for not having children. But I didn't do it with like a purpose. I just was too selfish to engage.
Yeah, just how life goes.
Yeah. And, I don't
and
mind it.
In some ways, thank God you didn't have children.
Yeah.
If that's true.
For sure. But you love it.
Yeah.
You're loving it?
I do love it. I do. Yeah.
I do have to ask you a couple of Mystic River questions.
Oh, sure.
Did you like doing that movie?
I loved it.
When you have to do a role like that, that's obviously, well, it's interesting because there is a similarity between that character and in terms of moral compass and the character you play on Ozark in some weird way, where you have to, right? You have to make this adjustment to do right by your family,
right?
You know, with compromising your moral integrity completely.
If you have one, if you have a moral integrity to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I think the one in Mystic River, I kind of did a kind of weird neighborhood. I don't know. But there's a different type of morality. But I don't know about the Ozark character.
She's really fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to play someone who is really shrewd, smart, skillful, and emotionally really immature.
Right.
You know, she's just reactive.
When you're preparing for someone like that, do you really take that into consideration, or you just deal with the lines? Or you just deal with the emotions of it? Do you place judgment on yourself, on the character? You know what I mean? Like, this person's a bad person. You can't really do that, can you?
No, you have to honor the person you're playing, and you have to play them fully. You've got to want to be there.
It's so funny. I just had this weird moment where I'm like, it's sort of like you're an emotional lawyer. You have to give that character the defense it deserves. And
you just have to play it honestly.
Yeah, right.
And figure out why.
Yeah.
Why? What's the why behind the behavior? What's the why behind the desire? What's really going on there? Yeah, it's
a dark, weird world, and that woman who plays the strip club manager, what's her name?
Julia Garner.
Is she another one of those people?
She's great. Yeah. There's like an instinctive talent there that is really just lights up. Yeah, she's amazing. That's an example of like the right actor with the right part.
Right.
I mean, it just clicked. Yeah. And like her voice and the sound of that language and the color of her skin and that hair and her vocal intonation and her understanding of that character on a deep instinctive level is just great. It's really, really wonderful.
And how's your relationship with Jason?
With Jason's good.
He's nice. He's a good guy, right? Solid.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where it's like he knows, like when he's in his wheelhouse, he's so fucking great. You know what I mean? Like,
really good.
He does a thing. Yeah. Like it can be funny, it can be dickish, it can be, calculating, but there's a Bateman wheelhouse that's always very satisfying.
Yeah. And he's been on sets his entire life.
Right.
So there is just the hours and hours and hours of observation and drinking it in and skill, and he's at a point now where he's fully able to take all of that and apply it somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's
directing a lot too, right?
Yeah, and he's a great director.
Oh, that's
he's
great.
Really good director. Really, really good.
Where do you shoot most of that stuff?
Atlanta.
Oh, outside of Atlanta.
GA.
Yeah, it's where everything's
Lake
being
Lanier,
shot.
Lake Allatoona. It's fantastic. I love working there.
I was there for a couple of weeks on a movie thing, but I didn't get out much. But I like the city. Well, he's one of those. They're going to open that city up in 2 weeks, so see how that goes.
Yeah.
But it's weird when I'm assuming we're politically like-minded, that when you're down there and you work with all these great people in Atlanta, liberal people, creative people, it's a great sort of cultural environment there. But you realize like you're in this red state, you're surrounded by this ideological disposition, and you're kind of the minority there, and it's weird when you work there, but you're kind of like, I love it here, and then you realize that the people that live down there have been living with that dichotomy their entire lives.
Well, my whole family is from Southern Georgia.
Really?
I'm the first person born above the Mason-Dixon line.
So you know it well.
Family, I know it very well. And there are people who I love deeply who have the exact opposite political views that I do. And that's a gift, actually, because you learn to see past politics.
Tolerance.
With people, even who are saying things that just go against every fiber of your being.
But do you ever think, like, with those people, I mean, obviously it's become sort of extreme. And it's not just sort of like, we have different views. Now it's like,
it's provocative.
We live in different worlds.
And there's a provocative thing that is very hard to handle.
And do you ever find, like, when you talk about having, friends who passed of AIDS, or having, living the life you live in New York City and all this kind of stuff, which is now, with that component of society, you are really kind of pictured as an enemy of some kind, as an elite and, not just liberal, but like the language has become really, othering.
Brutal.
But you still are able to talk to them?
Yes. Yeah.
And you find that they're able to talk to you with love that would transcend, the venom?
They try harder with me probably than anybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They love me, and I know they love me. And they know I love them.
And these are cousins and stuff?
These are cousins, yeah. Yeah. And it was wonderful. You know, we used to have a family reunion every year. We still do. But people would get together, talk politics, throw their arms up in the air, yell at each other, get really confounded, all these cousins who grew up together, you know, in Southern Georgia. And then you all sit down and you have dinner.
Yeah.
And you pass the gravy and you know.
Yeah.
And you talk and you love each other.
Right.
And then there's family.
Right.
So it's, and it's sitting in discomfort again. It's that, you know, over and over and over again.
As a life lesson.
Like, how do you sit in discomfort and not have it buck you out? How do you stay in it and have it help you?
It's your father's side?
My father didn't have much family. So my mother has a large family, but my father had no siblings, had a few cousins who I didn't know.
Right.
My grandmother I adored. But there was my father and my stepmother, who is still alive and who I love. And my sister and my grandmother, and that was really it from that side of the family. And then my mother has all these cousins. And, you know, all this stuff. So that was fun.
Was your father like able to? How did he respond to your work? Did he live long enough to see?
Oh yeah, yeah. He saw a lot of it. It was very hard for him at first.
Oh yeah.
It really was.
In what way?
And he didn't quite know how to handle it. I don't know. He just didn't like it. I think it was hard for him. And it was hard for him when I started to get some attention.
Ooh, narcissism.
Yeah, it was. And then he was extremely proud.
Oh, good.
And then he was extremely proud. And he was great about it. But I think it was hard for him. I don't think it was easy. And I felt bad about that. I really did. I felt bad that, well, there's something about like when your existence causes someone you love pain.
Yeah, but how did that trump the idea that your father can't even experience, you know, pride and appreciation for?
Well, he had that, and he had the other side.
Resentment.
You know, yeah, I think there was a battle back and forth about that. You know, I had a much easier time than he did, as far as my professional life, getting along with people. You know, it was easier for me.
Right.
I also wasn't an alcoholic, so there you go. But, you know, but he burned a lot of bridges, and I also was born, more than anything else, I was born with the right disposition for this business. You know, I have the right disposition for it. I don't freak out if I don't get a part. I'm not mortally wounded if someone goes in a different direction, or if someone says they don't like my work. You know, if I get a really stinky review, I don't read them anymore. But, you know, early on it would hurt, but then I'd get over it.
Yeah.
You know, I just sort of, all of that sort of isn't as important to me as the work and my friendships and the connections I have there. And fortunately, I was able to grab onto that stuff more than the other stuff.
But it's just weird. It's like, I'm glad that he was able to, like, because my parents are obviously not in the business, but they are selfish and they are self-centered. And I think that if somebody grows up with that kind of weird lack of boundary with parents, where they're not really parents, they're just these people you grow up with, that they see you as an extension of them. And then when you act in a way that's detached from them, it's almost like their limb is out doing things that they can't do without them. And they're not getting credit for it, you know? Right. But
or there's a sense of embarrassment, or there's, you know.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. Well, you're in the same world. But what would they're embarrassed at their failure, or at their?
No, I played a lot of unglamorous women.
Right, yeah.
And that has been very hard for my mother. Oh, right. She's had a hard time with that. Why do you have to play these, you know, unattractive women? You know, that can be a little hard for her, but she's always been, you know, supportive.
But your old man was able to come around, and you were able to feel his actual pride eventually.
Oh, sure.
That's great.
I felt all of it.
That's great.
Actually, I felt all of it. I felt the poo-poo platter of what she had to offer.
Well, good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it was definitely nice talking to you.
Well, same here. What a pleasure. I've really looked forward to this for a long time. So thank you for having me on, and thank you for.
And we did it like this. in the new world.
How about that?
This was the best one.